just check the circle of your friends. The people around you, the more time you spend with them, I don't care who you are, you're going to become like them. We're not talking about acquaintances. We're not talking about friends at work. We're talking about our circle of friends. The friends in your life are shaping the future of your life.
Do you have those people in life that appeal to the worst in you and not the best in you? And whenever they connect with you, they bring you down to where you were before?
Who do you allow to be in your ear? What kind of relationships are you developing? Are they an asset to you or they are a liability? Do they elevate your spirits or do they tear you down? We get two types of people, nourishing people and toxic people. Nourishing people, they bring the best out of you. They encourage you, they inspire you, they hold you accountable. Toxic people, they are critical people, always telling you what you can't do. They're always measuring your possibilities based upon their failures. They don't know what's possible for you. My mother said, never let anybody tell you what you can't do, son, especially if they haven't done it. So as you begin to look at yourself, begin to identify the relationships that you communicate with most and say, hey, is this relationship helpful to me?
Loyalty has an expiration date. The problem is, it's when you're the nice person, your loyalty lasts far longer to certain people than it should, because their loyalty to you has been expired. But you being the good person, you hang on to friendships and become forgiving far longer than you really should be. Loyalty has an expiration date.
Something in front of you, strong enough to give you the courage to let go of the system behind you. I know you're gonna get scared and run back every now and then. We already admitted that, but I want you to understand that what God thought about you is truer than what you thought about you.
Everything you're going through is preparing you for what you asked God for. You just gotta quit tripping while you're in the process, because the process is necessary. You may not see it now, but when he gets you on the other side of it, you're gonna see exactly why it went that way, and you're gonna be okay with it.
I must be inclined that it's somebody who's holding back on a decision, holding back on moving forward, and you're holding back because of fear. Fear of being rejected, being replaced, fear of people that you want to accept you won't accept you. When fear controls you, your decisions become illogical. And it's a problem because God is not the author or the generator of fear.
You need to learn to think, because thinking makes you act effectively in the world. Thinking makes you win the battles you undertake, and those could be battles for good things. If you can think and speak and write, you are absolutely deadly. Nothing can get in your way.
Trying to handle heartbreak, it's so important that we understand there has to be output to our life. Listen to me, if you're broken, don't take a break. Don't let the person who didn't love you stop you from meeting the person who will love you. See, what the enemy wants to do is the enemy wants to isolate you. And the enemy wants you to find some valley, and he wants you to camp out in that valley and say, nobody understands me, and nobody knows how bad my heart is broken, and nobody gets me, and because nobody gets me, I'm gonna go and do this thing all on my own. But I have come to remind you that that is a lie from the pit of hell. That is simply a reaction. And if you're ever gonna rebuild, it's gonna require to share with one another and walk through it together.
I'm going to make it. It's possible. Your dream is possible. Say that to yourself every day. Feed your mind with words that you write and words that you speak to yourself. Feed your faith, and your doubts will starve to death. It's possible. It's possible. Even when you have no evidence to point to, say to yourself, it's possible. There's nothing as powerful as a made-up mind. It's a struggle sometimes to do that, especially when you have people around you telling you that it's not possible. and they're constantly pointing out your failures of the past, constantly reminding you of all of the things that you don't have going for you.
Trust is reliance, or to rely on God's integrity, to lean and to rely on God's ability. It is a confident expectation of something. Who or what are you leaning on in the midst of hard times, in the midst of lack, in the midst of hurt? Who do you lean on the most?
I cannot tell you to let go of a system and not have something to hold on to. After all, this is all you ever had. This is what I'm familiar with. Even if I'm familiar with something that's killing me and hindering me and dwarfing me and retarding my growth, it's my normal. Even though it's not normal, it's my normal. It's my normal.
There's a battle of two systems here. It's the system of God and it's the system of this world. And you're going to have to choose. And I have chosen the system of God over the system of the world. Anything that's working in the world, it came from God.
I got my new system on Monday and Tuesday. And Tuesday night, I relapsed and I got my old system. And Wednesday morning, I said, no, we're not going together no more. And I put it down and I go back and I get my new system. And then some scar scares me and I go back and I get my old system until finally I develop the ability to trust my new.
Life seemingly does not wish to waste success on the unprepared. Life says, why waste a fortune on this person? They're not prepared to do the right things with it. They're not prepared to use it wisely. So not only look for fortune, not only look for the promise, but prepare yourself and ask of yourself, what can I do to make myself ready?
Trying to handle heartbreak, it's so important that we understand there has to be output to our life. Don't let the person who didn't love you stop you from meeting the person who will love you. See, what the enemy wants to do is the enemy wants to isolate you. And the enemy wants you to find some valley, and he wants you to camp out in that valley and say, nobody understands me and nobody gets me, and because nobody gets me, I'm gonna go and do this thing all on my own. But I have come to remind you that that is a lie from the pit of hell. That is simply a reaction. And if you're ever gonna rebuild, it's gonna require to share with one another and walk through it together.
Life was designed not to give us what we want, not to give us what we need, but life was designed to give us what we deserve. It says those that give, receive. Someone says, I wish to receive, I wish to receive. You don't have to concentrate on receive. Just become a good giver. It says those that search will find. Someone says, well, I need to find some good ideas to help change my life for the future. Then to find good ideas, that doesn't come because you need them, because it comes because you search for it.
How many marriages have ended because of social media? Your grandparents that's been married for 30, 40, 50 years did not have social media to contribute to the dysfunction of their marriage. We are growing up in a technology age where communicating and social networking has went to a whole nother stratosphere. So technically it's became even more challenging to be in a functioning, healthy marriage or relationship.
And I want to walk you down the road until what he thinks about you begins to hit the ground and you become seed to the sower. And people are glad to see you coming because God is going to make bread out of your life. You've been crushed, you've been pressed, you've been pulverized, but God said, I'm going to make you nourishment. I'm going to make you strength to somebody.
If he was through with you, you would not wake up in the morning. He gonna fix it. But now, God can't give you what you want because you want to hold on to what you got. You all in the way. It's a simple process. The only reason I'm telling you this, because this is how I made it. I just do me. I stay uniquely who I am because God made you uniquely who you are. He wanted you to be just like you are.
How easy is it to get up in the morning when you know you're not doing all that it takes? It's not very easy at all. You can just lay there awake thinking, oh, what's a few more minutes in bed? It won't matter much anyway. Wrong. It does matter. It will matter. Now, how easy is it to get up in the morning when you're pouring it on, doing the best you can, anxious to get going, make progress toward your dreams? It's a whole different story. When you're resting to renew your reserves, it's much different than resting to avoid your day. When you're psyched up and excited for your life, when you're excited for what you've planned to accomplish for the day, it's amazing. You'll wake up before the alarm clock even tries to startle you awake. Your successes fuel your ambition. Your successes give you extra energy. Your successes pave the way for more successes. It's the snowball effect. With one success, you're excited to meet another, and another, and another. And pretty soon, the disciplines that were so difficult in the beginning, the disciplines that got you going, are now part of your philosophy. How do you know when you're successful? Do you have to be a millionaire? No. All we ask of you is that you earn all you possibly can. If you earn $10,000 a year and that's the best you can do, that's enough. God and everything else will see to it that you're okay. The key is to just do the best you can. If it's $10,000 a year, wonderful. If it's $100,000 a year, wonderful. If it's $1 million a year, wonderful. It doesn't matter $10,000 a year or $1 million a year. It doesn't matter as long as you've done the best you possibly can. Earn the most you possibly can. Be the most you possibly can. And here's why. The essence of life is growth. The essence of life is growth, to do the best you can. And here's what's interesting. Humans are the only life form that will do less than they possibly can. Humans are the only life form that will settle for less. Every other life form except human beings strive to its maximum capacity. How tall will a tree grow? Approximately. As tall as it possibly can. You never heard of a tree growing half as high as it could. No, trees don't grow half. Trees send their roots down as deep as possible, stretch their limbs up as high as possible, produce every leaf possible and every fruit possible. As a matter of fact, you never heard of a human physically growing half. We keep growing until we're done. Now that's a part of life we can't control.
Find out who you're associating with. If those people add something to you, if they give you something in return, or is it all just a give and take, meaning like they just take and then you give? That's a bad relationship, man. Get the negative energy out of life. These people that you're around, they're always complaining and everything else. They're taking part of your soul. You only have so much to give every single day. Why waste it on that, guys? You gotta love yourself in order to love somebody else, guys. You gotta be whole and happy with who you are if you can never help somebody else out. People say, oh, it's selfish to just care about yourself. Well, if you need some fixing and reworking, it's not selfish, because you can get yourself better and then be able to really lend a hand in an honest way to somebody to really help them out.
I want you to ask yourself, do I love myself enough to give myself permission to go after what I want? Like, do I love myself enough to exercise this weekend? Do I love myself enough to study that extra hour? Because when you can start saying yes to loving yourself, you start to realize just how far you're able to go. And I wish people knew that the ability to succeed, it's all inside of you. It's never been hidden. It's just you love yourself enough to let it out. The best version of yourself is so beautiful and so amazing. And yes, people may not accept you all the time and they may hurt you, but I don't want you to keep that in, because you were meant to be a certain type of person, and there's somebody out there in this world who needs to see you for who you are.
The growing of our minds, the expansion of our minds, that we can control. And that's what tends to get away from us. All life forms inherently strive to their max except human beings. Now, why wouldn't human beings strive to their maximum possibility? Here's why. Because we've been given the dignity of choice. It makes us different than alligators and trees and birds. The dignity of choice makes us different than all other life forms. And here's the choice: to become part of what we could be, enough to get by, or to become all that we can be. My best advice for you is to choose the all. Earn all you can, make all the friends you can, read as many books as you can, develop as many skills as you can, see as much as possible, do as much as possible, make as much fortune as possible, give as much of it away as possible. The max. There's no life like it. I'm telling you, once I got on track, I've never looked back. Pick up the challenge. Go for it. Take the best of the two easies. Take the route of it's easy to get ahead. It's easy to do all you can. It's easy to succeed. It's easy to have financial freedom. The more you do, the more you get. So the two primary benefits of positive reinforcement are, number one, to build good habits, and number two, to create more energy to fuel your ambitions, your desires, your achievements. How can you isolate what's working for you and what isn't? How can you make sure that you are reinforcing your positive disciplines? Well, if it isn't apparent, easy to see right away. If what you're doing is happening in such small increments that you're not sure if you're on track, then you need to be writing it down. You need to keep a journal anyway. But if you really aren't sure that what you're doing is making measurable progress, you need to keep a written record. You need to write down everything that may be relevant in your day. What you did, who you saw, what you felt, how it may or may not affect you now and in the future. The best way to track your activities of the day is to write them down. The best way to track your activities of the week is to write them down. The best way to analyze your progress through the year is to have written it down. Why? So you can look back on it. Because by keeping a written record of your life, you will be more accountable. By putting into writing the action steps that you have planned, you will easily see what works and what doesn't. Most people just try to get through the day, never writing anything down, never keeping track of their progress along the way, never really knowing if they are doing all they can to reach their goals, to drive their ambition. But gifted people learn to get from the day. They don't let a day end without picking up some valuable experience, some emotional content, some idea that may positively affect their future. To get the most from a day, to learn the most from a day, you need to be able to reflect on the day. And how can you reflect on a day unless you record it in history?
When a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, gets its wings, it doesn't just have the ability to crawl faster. It comes into a whole new dimension, from crawling to flying. When you get your wings, you're not going to just be better at what you can do right now. God is going to catapult you into a new dimension. Things are going to happen sooner than you thought. You're going to discover gifts, talents, creativity that you didn't know you had. Where you think, where did this come from? You got your wings. That's God taking you places that you could never go on your own. There's going to be a preparation period between the time God puts the dream in your heart and the time that it comes to pass. It's up to us to pass these tests, to be willing to go through the pregnancy, the uncomfortable season when we don't understand it. We're doing the right thing, but we're not making progress. This is when many people give up on their dreams. They were anointed, but because they wouldn't go through the preparation process, they never gave birth. They never saw the appointing come.
To every person in this room who's had a struggle, who's had some tests, who's got some creative ideas, but you've gone through some really tough stuff. The stuff you've been through, don't pay it any attention. It is just a sign that the baby is coming. You're on the verge of birthing. You're about to give birth. The baby is coming. The baby is coming. The baby is coming. You don't want to leave me now. The baby is coming.
When you're pregnant, the baby is developing on the inside where nobody can see. In those tough times where you're uncomfortable, you're doing the right thing, but the wrong thing is happening, something is developing in you that you can't see. It's getting you prepared. And this is the reason many people never give birth to what's in them. They don't understand the process. God will put a dream in your heart. He'll give you the anointing, then he'll send you back to the shepherd's fields. The appointing will come later.
Anybody who left you is going to miss it. They're going to miss the greatest part of you, the greatest part of your destiny, the greatest part of your creativity. It took everything you went through yesterday to get you ready for what you are about to do today. You are standing on the verge of a great awakening, or you wouldn't be here. If I'm talking to you, make some noise in this place.
You have to think. You can't just feel. You have to think. You know, even when you're taking care of kids, part of what you're doing is being compassionate. But if you're too compassionate towards your kids, then you do everything for them. And if you do everything for them, then they grow up useless and they never leave and they hate you and they hate everything else too. It's a bad idea. Treating your children like they're endless permanent victims is a very bad idea.
Success is like really hard. But everybody can do it. God created you to be successful. We have to make decisions along the way to get it. But you can do it. You just got to quit tripping.
You want to live your life from now on with courage. That most people take their talents, abilities, and skills to the grave with them because of lack of courage. And courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is the willingness to do what it is you need to do in spite of the fear.
We all have 24 hours. So if you have a bad day, which is no such thing of, it doesn't exist. You had a bad moment and you were so immature that you let that moment dictate the rest of your day, right? And let me tell you something. You don't know how many days you have. Like, I'm just gonna keep it 100. You don't know how many days you have left. You don't wanna be wasting days. You can't be playing with the days you have on foolishness. So you have to learn how to control yourself. You need to get control of your life. You do not have control.
The problem with success, the average person doesn't think it's for them. That's the only thing that's stopping you from being really successful. The day you decide to become rich, the process starts immediately. If you never decide to be rich, there is no process that gets started. That's how it works, man. Rich people ain't that smart. I'm telling you. They just know some of the principles of success. You just gotta learn them. It's hard, but it's for everybody.
We're not going to overcome fear and live a powerful, victorious life if we're not disciplined in our thought life. That's where the main battle is taking place. Your mind is the bullseye of the enemy's target. If he can control your thoughts, he can control your whole life. If you don't guard your mind, it will default back to these thoughts of fear, worry, anxiety, negativity.
You know why I wake up every morning excited about life? It's not because everything around me is going right. It's because I have a vision for tomorrow, and the vision creates passion and ambition and drive.
Focus on something you want to do.
that's important to you, not to anybody else, that's important to you. And every day you take action steps at the beginning of the year. Why? Because it's easy to become a victim of weapons of mass distractions. To be distracted, you miss some steps. Listen to me. This is how I got here. So when you find yourself thinking negative thoughts because of the weapons of mass distractions, let's say cancel that. See, we can't control the thoughts that come in our minds, but we can control the thoughts that we dwell on.
And some of you can show up when you're at home, when you go on the road, you struggle, meaning that when things are going the way you want, you cool, but when it rains, you gotta grow up. Your body does not control you. When something negative happens in your life, you giving it mad energy. When something good happens, you acting like it's supposed to happen. That's why your life messed up, because you focus on the stuff that's wrong. You're not putting the same energy on what's right.
It's when I'm disappointed, it's when I'm defeated, it's when I find myself deep down in the dirt with my expectations not being met that I can actually lift my head up and I can start to look around the surroundings and discover where the mistakes took place. I can discover where are the gaps. I can discover how on earth can I get better? How can I grow? Don't complain about it. Choose to learn from it.
Like, listen to me, like you gotta stop playing. So most of you, what happens is, when everything is favorable, you a beast. Make sure you understand what I'm saying. When everything is favorable, meaning like whatever conditions you like, when those conditions are right, you a beast. But when the conditions ain't right, you get smacked in the face. You gotta grow up. You gotta be a morning person, afternoon person, night person. You gotta be at home person, on the road person. You gotta be when you feel good person, when you sick person, when you tired person.
I would rather aim for the stars and not hit them than to not aim at all. I would rather go after it and not get it than not go after it at all. I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. It's not strolling time. It's not walking time. It's not sightseeing time. It's running time. You gotta run after your destiny. You can't stroll after your destiny. You can't walk after your destiny. You gotta run.
That's the way the body is designed. You talk negative and your body does negative. You talk negative, you get diseases. You talk negative, mentally certain things happen. I'm not stupid. I know how to talk negative. I was homeless too. My father wasn't in my life too. I've been in struggles too. But I've come to realize that when you think optimistically and you speak positively, you can speak those things which are not as though they were. You can say certain things out your mouth and make it happen. So it's no secret. You are where you are because you focus on stuff you ain't got no business focusing on. You can't control that.
Because success is never an accident. And if you don't want it, get out of my way. Because there are some people who want to do something with their life who will run. I'm going to go for it come hell or high water. I'm going after my destiny.
You have got to make a declaration and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back, and I'll be stronger and better because of it. You've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will. That this is what you stand for. You're standing up for your dreams. You're standing up for peace of mind. You're standing up for health. You want it, and you're going to go all out to have it. I'm going to turn this situation around. I'm not going to sit back and moan and cry over what happened and what went wrong and who did what. I'm going to do something about this situation.
Keep going. Like, keep going. Don't quit. You're already in pain. You're already struggling. Like, get something for your pain. It doesn't make sense to go through pain and then not get none on the other side of it. So since you're already struggling, you're already going through it, get on the other side. You're going to catch the greats. You got to get up at 3. You got to go to bed earlier. Don't lie to yourself. You are powerful, but you have some vices. The only way you're going to be successful is you got to discipline yourself.
Everything you're going through, is preparing you for what you ask God for. You just got to quit tripping while you're in the process, because the process is necessary. Pull yourself together and quit tripping, because you're in the process.
Sometimes your life will be in a slump. I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan. Continue to do those things that you know that work for you after you have evaluated yourself in the situation.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Stay in it. Stay focused.
You've given it your best shot. You've had enough. You can stand down. You can back off. You can take a knee. You can rest now. Do not listen to that instinct. Do not listen. That instinct is a liar and wants to bring you down. It wants to give you an out, a place to run to, a little place of sympathy. And that is the instinct you need to fight. You need to push back, to smash into the ground. Do not take the easy way out. Do not give up based on instinct. Get up. Go. Fight on.
Don't allow your emotions to control you. We are emotional, but you want to begin to discipline your emotion. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. You can decide that you're going to change, that you're not going to be a wimp. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last. You have the power to make that decision. You can decide, I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences. They're not stronger than I am. I'm in charge here.
Some of you have been convinced you're in a losing season right now because you feel very discombobulated on the inside. You're not so certain about certain things that are going on in your life right now. It is not a loss. In fact, it is a new level.
You can endure almost anyhow. So find out the reasons that you do what you do. Find out the reasons that will make you strong, that will make you walk by faith and not by sight, that will make you pursue your dream when everybody is against you or don't believe in you no more.
My business telephone bill just in California got up to $13,000 a month, and this was one of the problems. Doing business internationally, we have learned the incredible savings of both time and money by taking the time to write down an agenda before we begin to dial. And here's another benefit. If you have made an agenda, when it comes time to recall that conversation you had, you've now got the details in writing. When you say, John, how are you doing on those 4 things we talked about the other day? And John says, what 4 things? We didn't talk about that. You now have a written record to show that you did. Remember, people can talk you out of what's in your head, but it's hard to talk you out of what's in your book. Next, if you can afford the luxury, have your calls screened. Then when you pick up the messages, you can decide who to call and when to call, and have the time to formulate the important information before you make the call. Now, this is a luxury, I will admit. It may be that you just have to answer the phone when the call comes in, but at least file this idea away for the future, when you might be able to use it. And one more, the telephone at home. Here you have to exercise great care to not let the telephone intrude. During social time with family or friends, my suggestion is
is that you shut the phone off. They have all those neat devices now, so you can. Put on the recorder to take messages or just pull the plug. Family is a high priority. Take care that valuable family time is not subject to frequent intrusions. If you set up this rule, you will not only have uninterrupted time with your family and friends, but also they will give you high marks for caring about them enough to make them a priority. Every situation calls for an evaluation of values. Remember, you have to go in search of the ideas. They don't just come by. Make a thorough investigation of the subject on your own. Sort out the ideas, choose those that you think are most valid and put them to work in your life. Next point, be more alert and analyze all your procedures and tools. Old filing methods, old bookkeeping methods. Some things we do can become quickly outdated, especially these days. Check for all the new tools that can help you to use your time more efficiently. Dictating machines, tape recorders, answering devices, computers, calculators. There is just about every tool imaginable in today's marketplace. I now have a fabulous computer in my office that can do the most amazing things and save a great deal of time. I also have a portable computer typewriter that I can take on an airplane or in my motorhome. Then I merely transfer what I have typed onto special cassettes or send the information via telephone back to the main terminal. When I get home, all of my letters and scripts are typed and waiting for my signature or my attention. So take a look, do some research, do some shopping, find out. No telling how much you can improve your efficiency or multiply your skills by eliminating the barriers and the hindrances so that you are now free to do all the creative things that make for fortune and lifestyle. Now here's an important time saver. Learn to ask questions. This habit will serve in so many ways. Have you ever talked to someone for an hour and then asked some questions and found out that you just wasted the last hour? Make a note. Almost everything is symptomatic of what's really wrong. Surface details don't usually give us enough information to effectively communicate. So, ask questions before.
Let us say together, it's necessary to detoxify your life. Ladies and gentlemen, how many of you are serious about reaching your goals? Raise your hands, please. Very good. Jim Rohn asked this question. Look at the people in your life and ask the question, what is this relationship doing to me? See, in order for you to go to the next level, there are some people you need to let go. Let us say together, let go or be dragged. There's some people, because of their negativity, they're emotional vampires. They will drain you. You want to be around people that you can learn from, that you can grow from. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough out of Atlanta said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. Les, can I change them? No. It's a full-time job changing yourself. There's some people that's comfortable being negative, comfortable being a volunteer victim. There's some people that's so negative, they can walk into a dark room and begin to develop. Oh, behave. My medication wearing off now. When you're talking about earning more money, you got to be serious. One sickness can wipe out a fortune. 95% of the people who filed bankruptcy last year did so because of medical expenses. People say money won't make you happy, but everybody want to find out for themselves. A friend of mine, Rita Davenport, said money ain't important, but it's right up there with oxygen. And let me tell you something, fellas. Even if you're as homeless as I am, you got some money, women will find something cute on you. Oh, he's got earlobes like Tom Cruise. He's got a walk like Denzel Washington. I used to be so broke I'd walk past a bank and trip the alarm. Creditors would call the house and my children would answer the phone and say, my daddy say he ain't home. And sometimes they would catch me on the phone. May I speak to Les Brown, please? Sorry, but he's not here. You sound like Les Brown. Don't you go there, big boy. Oh my God! Red Fox said money can't buy you happiness, but it can make a big down payment. Oh, this thing called life. Here's something else. Write this down. You're gonna fail your way to success. There are people who look promising. They're gonna disappoint you, hurt your feelings. There are people who should be there to encourage you, to motivate you. They're gonna be the #1 members of the discouragement club. Before things get better for you, they're gonna get real bad. When you have a dream, think it not strange that you'll face the fiery furnaces of this world. You will, not you might, you will have tribulations. How many of you know that's true? Raise your hands, please.
Things will happen to you. And don't complain. Don't go around telling everybody. 80% don't care. 20% glad it's you. Suck it up and keep on prospecting and make it happen. Life is happening to everybody.
No wonder he later says when Jesus rises from the dead, Peter is one of the guys who says, I go a-fishing. Because when you are full of shame, you just want to get away. Who am I preaching to today? What are you running away from that God has for you, that God wants to do in your life, that God has purpose for you, but because of the nagging memories of your own inconsistencies, you find yourself in a dilemma. I am sent here today to talk to you. God told me to tell you, I still want you. Jesus rose from the dead with Peter on his mind. Do y'all hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? Jesus rose from the dead with Peter on his mind. He rose from the dead and said, go tell the disciples. I think it's Mark 16:7, 6 and 7. He says, don't be alarmed. He spoke to the women, don't be alarmed. He said, you are looking for Jesus, the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. He is not here. He is not here. He's gone. He's up from the dead. See the place where he lay? This is where he used to be. This is where he is. But go tell the disciples and Peter. Go tell the disciples is one thing, but out of all 12 disciples, he calls Peter by name. He calls Peter by name because Peter doesn't think that he's still a disciple. He thinks that he's messed up so bad that he's lost his place and he's lost his destiny and he's lost. God told me, there's somebody I'm preaching to today. You think you messed up so bad that you ruined your destiny. It's a lie. The Lord sent me here to preach to you, to call you by name. Go tell the disciples and Peter. Go tell the disciples and Mary. Go tell the disciples and Shawanda. Go tell the disciples and Helen. Go tell the disciples and Fred. Go tell the disciples and Robert. God is calling you by name. God is saying simply, I'm going to meet you in Galilee. There I'm going to show myself just as I told. And in spite of your shame, I still have a plan for your life. Can you imagine as I close what it must have been like for Peter to preach the inaugural address on the day of Pentecost? Out of all 12 disciples, Peter is chosen to preach on the day of Pentecost. Oh, woman by the fire, betraying, shameful, disgrace. Peter is raised up to speak to all of the people that he used to warm himself by the fire with and said, oh, house of Israel, know assuredly that this same Jesus whom ye crucified have been made both Lord and Christ. He preached the gospel to them. He preached the resurrection to them. He preached the power of God to them. You can turn around from disgrace to grace. You can come from failure to victory. You can get rid of your shame.